Hey there, greetings everybody. Welcome here to the Prog Monster. My name is Murph and I am the host of this show. So we're here to do the episode from the mini series that we've been running. I think this is the fifth episode, or maybe it might be the fourth episode of album runs, So who had the better album run? That's what we're doing today. So Ben is the one that's been kind of putting the runs together, and my job is to kind of talk about which of these two runs I like better. So in order to do that, I have to be at least familiar with all the albums. There's a couple of there was the episode with the Rolling Stones where there were some albums I wasn't familiar with, but with this set, I did listen to the albums. So the two bands we're doing today for the album runs are Blue Oyster Cult and Uriah Heep. Those are the two bands. And so there are, of course, some obvious similarities between these two bands and some obvious differences. Probably the most similarities between the two is that they're both, to me, they're basically hard rock bands who both have other influences from other genres in their music. And they both have keyboardists, same as Deep Purple. To me, these are both kind of, there's some similarity between these two bands and Deep Purple, though I think probably Uriah Heep is more like Deep Purple than Blue Oyster Cult is. But I see some similarities between all three bands, primarily because they all have very forward type keyboardists in their bands. The Uriah Heep and Deep Purple probably more so than Blue Oyster Cult. So when I think of Uriah Heep, I think of a hard rock band that likes to put in lots of bluesy stuff. It does have some kind of progressive stuff on some of their albums, which are a little bit more progressive dominated than some of their other albums. It's the same kind of thing here with Blue Oyster Cult. They both have. Blue Oyster Cult has a lot of different genres. Blue Oyster Cult, I think, also tends to be a little bit more quirky in some of their songs. They have those quirky outlier songs on their albums. Their albums all sound quite a bit different to me. Uriah Heep, not so much. There is some difference in the stuff that's out now as opposed to the stuff that came out in the 70s. But for the most part, these 10 albums that Ben gave me from Uriah Heep, their first through to their 10th album, are all, to my way of thinking, all basically hard rock albums. As they get towards the back end of the 10 albums, there's a little bit more commercial sounding parts to their music. Not that much. I wouldn't venture to say that they're a commercial band by any stretch, at least not at this stage in their history. They also have some very strong albums and some albums I never kind of keened up to very well. And it's kind of not what you would think either with Uriah Heep. There's some albums, some of the albums I like are the hard rock ones, not so much the progressive ones, which is kind of weird. I thought it would be the other way around, but it isn't. The other thing with Uriah Heep is that I own half of the albums on this list. The other half I had to go and listen to because I don't own them. It's not that I don't want to own them, but you can only, like I said, you can only buy so many albums at a time, and they haven't been at the top of my list of albums to get at this point, where Blue Oyster Cult's the opposite. They're right near the top of bands that I want to have all their albums of. Blue Oyster Cult also, with their albums, other than their first two debut album and the Tyranny of Mutations, I quite love the rest of them, the ones at least that I own. The only difference on this list is that Ben gave me Some Enchanted Evening, which is a live album, and skipped over Mirrors. So I guess he wanted to have this live album there as a representation of the band as opposed to having all just studio albums, because I think, for me, Blue Oyster Cult is very much a live band. I think of them as that anyways. So yeah, so that's kind of a little bit of a rundown of my familiarity and what I know about the bands. So I have all of the first 8 Blue Oyster Cult albums. The final 2 on the list I do not have, but I did listen to them, so I'm familiar with them. So we're going to start by going through the Uriah Heep ones first, since that was the band he gave me first. So the debut album, which is very I can't think of the word of it. I can't think of the name of the band album, and I wrote it down wrong. So, anyways, it's very Umble is the second part. So it's got the face on the cover that looks like it's got cobwebs on it or whatever. I'm not sure what that is, but this is a pretty bluesy album, or more bluesy than some of their other stuff, and it's got a lot of heavy elements to it too. It was pretty good. It's an album that I want to have. I think of the 5 I don't have on this list, this is the one I probably want the most, their debut album. The next album up on the list is this one, Salisbury. This is an absolute killer album. I like this a lot. Was in my playlist, did very well. Strong album. Doesn't have many tracks on it, although the second CD in this collection is an alternative with other tracks on it as well. There's actually 9 on that one, including a live version of the song Salisbury. But the tracks are all good. Bird of Prey, I like that. Lady in Black, Salisbury, of course, and High Priestess, all on this album. And the second CD is pretty damn good too. It's a nice kind of book set too, which I like. And it's sometimes I don't like the book sets if especially in cases where they're digipacks, which this is. But the way they've got this one set up, it's kind of protected, so I don't have to worry about it. It's well protected. So this one, their second album, Salisbury from 1971. Their first one, by the way, was from 1970. Next up is one that I've had for a bit. It's waiting its turn to go in my playlist. I like this one a lot too. Look at Yourself is the name of it. It's their third studio album from 1971 as well as Salisbury. This one's really strong too. It comes on the heels of Salisbury, so probably a very similar sound going on. 7 tracks on this album too, which is kind of funny that a lot of the Deep Purple albums also have 7 tracks on. This one also has a fair number of bonus tracks. I've listened to this maybe half a dozen times now. It will go in my playlist. I think it'll do pretty well too. So look at Yourself. That's their third one. Their fourth one is this one, Demons and Wizards, which I have in a book form. So it's all in a book with a kind of slide out here type thing that goes on. This is pretty comes out pretty clean though. It's not as scratchy as some of them get to be, but it's a nice book. 9 tracks in total on this. I didn't warm up to this one too well. I think this one and the next one probably need a fair bit of listening time with me to kind of penetrate that proggy element to this music. And maybe I've had it now for 2 or 3 years, so maybe at some point it's going to take off with me, but it hasn't at this point in time. But there's some good stuff on here too. Traveler in Time, I like that track. The rest I'm still just not warmed up to yet, but eventually I think I will. This is a Roger Dean cover for those of you who see some similarities there from Yes. Next up is the other kind of progressive. That one was from 72. This next one is also from 72. Another progressive element, also another Roger Dean cover here. This is the Magician's Birthday. Same kind of issue I had with this as I've had with Demons and Wizards. Just hasn't really, I don't think I've really penetrated it too well at this point. But still a pretty good song, pretty good album. I suspect it probably will at some point. This one's only about 37 minutes in length, which is kind of low on the edge of my wheelhouse. But the artwork, of course, Roger Dean again, quite good. So this is their 5th studio album. Their 6th studio album is one that I also have. This is High and Mighty. I didn't take to this album very well. I must admit. I listened to it. It just there's something about it that doesn't sit well with me, and I don't know what it is yet. But over a course of time, we will it'll become clear to me. This one has a couple bonus tracks on it as well. This one was also released. Oh, sorry, I'm giving you this too early. I skipped ahead because I don't have the other albums in between. So we'll go back to that in a few minutes. So we have next up is Sweet Freedom, which is 1973. I do not own this album, but I did listen to it. I find this to be heavier than most of their albums. I quite liked it. It's got that real hard rock element. I don't ever think of Uriah Heep as a metal band at all. It doesn't enter my mind, but they definitely are a hard rocking band for sure. This one kind of reminds me of Deep Purple quite a bit as well. And again, an album I haven't got yet, but I have listened to it at least once anyways. Next album up is called Wonderland. I find this is pretty similar to that album. Maybe not as heavy. Overall I didn't feel it was as heavy, but maybe I haven't had much time with it, so maybe that's part of the reason why I don't feel that way. This one came out in 74, but it's a pretty solid album. So these two definitely I think I'm going to get for sure. And Return to Fantasy is the next one up from 1975. Also don't own this one. This one is kind of similar to those two, but maybe less heavy than the previous two, but still pretty solid album, I think. And then you got High and Mighty, which is the one that I jumped the gun on. I don't really care for this album. I think it just hit me wrong, or maybe I was listening to it in a wrong mood. I don't know what it is. I was a little bit disappointed, and I thought it would be better than this. I do kind of like the cover. It looks like a Luger that's turned into an airplane. Kind of an interesting cover. Anyways, this one came out in 76. And then the final album in the run is called Firefly. I'd listened to this entire. This one I find kind of a commercial. I want to say a commercial sound, but it's all relative to what you're comparing it to. So maybe going forward they become more commercial. I don't know. This one's more commercial than the predecessors. I didn't really care for much for this one either. But I've only listened to it once, so it's difficult to rate something on a one-time listen. But overall, it's I think a pretty solid discography. Eventually see myself owning them all. This kind of reminds me of Budgie's 10 album run there too, which it just I don't know what it is. It reminds me about it. They're all pretty solid. And so eventually I'll get those as well. So we'll go on now to the Blue Oyster Cult run, which I'm much more familiar with. This is a top 20 band for me. Uriah Heep maybe the top 50 or 60, but Blue Oyster Cult definitely a top. I think they're in the top 15 now, really, to be honest. So Blue Oyster Cult, kind of like Uriah Heep in one sense. There are some really outstanding albums and then some that don't sit with me as well. I'm not really sure there's no reason for it. It just sometimes albums just don't hit you the same way. So we'll start with the debut album. It's a solid album. Definitely a hard rock album, but I don't think it's overly hard rock. It does have some hard rock stuff on it, quite a bit actually. But I don't think it's as hard as some of the albums that were going to come up next. I do like the cover. It's quite good for a debut. This is the first of the black and white albums. Next up is Mystery and Mutations. Now, the second of the black and white albums. This one's got a kind of a psychedelic look to it. Kind of reminds me a bit of that cover from Yes's second studio album. I guess it's all of the patterns on it that remind me of it. I'm not sure what it is. Anyways, this has the black side and the red side. That's what the two album sides are called. It does have some bonus tracks on as well. This is a much heavier album than the debut. In fact, I think this is probably there's an argument to be made for this being their hardest rock album. I don't know if it is or not, but there's definitely an argument to be made. I do like this album much more than the first one, although I don't mind the first one either. This one I think I like better. This came out in 73, by the way. That one in 72. Pretty good, pretty solid album. You got quite a few people singing on this album as well. The best song on it is the opening track, The Red and the Black. I like that quite a bit. There is quite a bit of keyboards on this as well, although pretty guitar riffing dominated. Third album is where it really jumps up for me. This album is an absolute fantastic album. One of my favorite albums since I started the channel. If I was rating my top 5 or 6 favorite albums I discovered on this channel, this has got to be in there for sure. Every song on this is fantastic. And the bonus tracks are, in this case, very much a bonus. They're all really good. Borman the Chauffeur, Mummy, Mesdames Surat, Born to be Wild. I'm not crazy about that, but Career of Evil, the single version, is quite good as well. The art on this is fantastic as well. M. Messerschmitt 268 or 265, sorry. 262, sorry, I'll get my numbers right yet. Anyways, I do like it. It's definitely a strong album. I suspect when I'm all said and done, this will be the cream of the crop for Blue Oyster Cult, but absolutely the best album here. The only album that kind of challenges it on the Uriah Heep size is probably Salisbury of the ones that we're doing. I do like Chaos in Color, one of their last studio album, a lot as well. That would definitely be a top 5 too. So next up we have probably their most famous album, Agents of Fortune. And it's only the most famous because it has Don't Fear the Reaper on it, which is not one of my favorite songs by them, but I don't hate it either. This album is a little bit more quirky than the first 3. It's got some different sounds going on here. True Confessions, kind of a weird song, but I like it. This Ain't the Summer of Love. What a classic opening for an album. Fantastic. Then you got Don't Fear the Reaper. ETI, which is really good. Revenge of Vera Gemini. This is another one of those kind of really quirky songs. This album has a plethora of those quirky stuff. Sinful Love is good. Tattoo Vampires. It's another weird track, right? Morning Final, Tenderloin, and Debbie Denise. Debbie Denise is another quirky one. And then you got some bonus tracks, Fire of Unknown Origin, Sally, Don't Fear the Reaper, Live. These are all demos, sorry. And then Dance the Night Away, which is kind of a funny song. Anyways, this is a solid album. I don't think it's as good as Secret Treaties, but it's definitely fantastic. I do like it. This one here is much better. I think this is a superior album. Definitely a top 5 for them when all is said and done. Opens up with Godzilla, great track. Golden Age of Leather, fantastic. Death Valley Nights, yes, like that a lot. Searching for Celine, Fireworks is really good. Are You Ready to Rock? Are You Ready to Rock? Yeah, another great one. Celestial and the Queen, Going Through the Motions. This one's kind of a weird track, but I like it. I Love the Night and Nosferatu. Yeah, this from top to bottom is pretty solid album. Did well on it on the playlist as well, so I like this a lot. Spectres. That album is actually, forgot to tell you these things, that's from 77. Agents of Fortune from 76 and Secret Treaties from 74. The next album on the list is a live one. So he pulled Mirrors and put this live one in instead. This is a solid live album. I think of the 2 live albums I have by them, I think this one is superior in a lot of ways. It's got a lot of stuff I like on it too. Are You Ready to Rock opens this. You got ETI, which is Extraterrestrial Intelligence, really good. Astronomy, which may be my favorite track by Blue Oyster Cult. Kick Out the Jams, which of course is a cover. Godzilla, really good. This is another fantastic track. Always liked it. Don't Fear the Reapers here, and then We Gotta Get Out of This Place. Yeah, there's some strong stuff on here. This is produced by Sandy Perlman, Murray Krugman, and Blue Oyster Cult. I like the cover too. It's I think it's supposed to be the Grim Reaper here with his scythe. Yeah, strong live album. Then we got two left here that I own, and then two others that I don't own. So these two are strong albums too. Cultosaurus Erectus. I love the album cover. Blue Oyster Cult has some of the best album covers. There's no doubt about it. If we were ever to do a ranking of the album covers of bands, they're going to be a top 5 for sure. I love this cover here. And, it's not really what you think. And then you look at it, it's like a giant vegetable with a head. This one has a lot of good stuff on it. Black Blade, Monsters, Deadline on here, Hungry Boys, Fallen Angel, Lips in the Hills. Yeah, this is a strong album. It's waiting its turn in my playlist. I think it'll get on there for the end of the year. And then, of course, we're going to go to the longest standing album that I have by Blue Oyster Cult, my first one, and a great love of mine and a masterpiece. This is Fire of Unknown Origin. Every track on this I like. I didn't always like them. There was a couple tracks in here that took a long time for me to like. Joan Crawford and Don't Turn Your Back. I didn't really like those two initially. It took a while, and then I grew into liking them quite a bit. Now, Joan Crawford's one of my favorites on the album. Some of the stuff that I liked a lot at the beginning, Fire of Unknown Origin, Burning for You, and The Veteran of Psychic Wars, I kind of burn them out a bit, so I don't listen to them as much. And that one was from 1981, the Cultosaurus Rex from 1980, and Some Enchanted Evening from 1978. The other two, the two I do not have, which are the last two, Revolution by Night. This one, it's more sound, well, it doesn't really sound like Fire of Unknown Origin. I don't think it does, but it's more clear sounding like some of their later stuff than their earlier stuff. Club Ninja, not as crazy about this one, but I only listened to it once, so tough to give an album any kind of strong opinion when you've only listened to it once, but still pretty solid. So overall, I would say Uriah Heep has a lot of potential. There's 5 albums I haven't listened to that much, so hurts them a bit with that. The albums that I have listened to, unfortunately, 2 of them, Demons and Wizards and The Magician's Birthday, not as crazy about, but they may warm up. Look at Yourself and Salisbury, I like them a lot. They're the top 2 here for me, anyways. And some of the ones I don't own, like Sweet Freedom, Wonder World, Return to Fantasy, and their debut album, I like all 4 of them. Definitely got to have them all eventually. And then High and Mighty, I kind of don't care much for either. And then Firefly, it's a little bit more commercial than the others, but not that much, but still more. So those are the overall. I think they're got their strong stuff, a little bit of meteor stuff, and a lot of stuff that's kind of iffy at this point. Blue Oyster Cult, other than the last 2, which I don't really know that well, and the first one, which is not one of my favorite of theirs, the rest of them from Tyranny and Mutations right through to Fire on Origin, really good albums, especially Fire of Unknown Origin, Cultosaurus Erectus, Some Enchanted Evening, Spectres, and Secret Treaties. These are all really, really strong albums. I think Secret Treaties of the 10 albums here is probably my favorite. So I think that the overall strength of the Blue Oyster Cult 10 album run is just superior, in my opinion, to Uriah Heep. Now, come back in 2 years when I have all these albums and been listening to them, could change your mind, but it's going to be tough to beat Blue Oyster Cult because they're a band that I love a lot. Anyways, that's my take today. I think the Blue Oyster Cult 10 album run is just a little bit better, superior, mostly due to owning the albums and being a bigger fan of them initially. So that's it. That's all I got to say. Hope you've enjoyed this episode. Please hit the like and subscribe. That helps my channel. If you want, you can talk about either of the 2 album runs by either of the 2 bands, Uriah Heep or Blue Oyster Cult, and tell me how you would see this. Do you see this as more even than I have, or maybe you're a huge Uriah Heep fan and don't like Blue Oyster Cult at all, or maybe the other way around. I like both bands, and that's my run for today. So please leave whatever comments you want, and we'll see you all next week with another episode of Album Runs. So take care and goodbye.